All right, let's get started. So we're talking about multiple offers. If you have any questions, just stop me. All right. So I should introduce myself first. My name is Lugashi with the Zamir Group, Keller Williams, technically out of Village Square. So I'm on a team. Been on the team for 9 years. We actually led the entire MLS for 8 straight years in units and volume, from 2016 to 2023. Yeah, so we do a lot of transactions, a lot of buyers, and me being here, you being here, there's something that I want you to get out of it. I want you to get value. So if I can communicate some tips, some tricks, some items of value that'll help you improve your conversion, then I did my job. Right? So when we talk about multiple offers, the type of environment that we're in right now, the market conditions that we're in, it's a very strong, crazy, obnoxious seller's market, right? So now when we're working with buyers, it's a very competitive scenario to be in, and there's a few things that we can do to improve our conversion. So we're not submitting. Hey, Freddie, how's it going, man?
Hey, man, what's going on? Good to see you, man.
You too.
Been a while, huh?
It has been. You working with buyers, Freddie?
Yes.
Yeah. What's the environment like? What's the market like?
Like before,
Like before, but worse. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's competitive out there, right? So I was just getting in. So there's a few things that we can do to improve our conversion. We're talking about multiple offers. The first slide is the buyer consultation. I put that up there because there's 2 scenarios that can unfold. You can do the buyer consultation and you cannot do the buyer consultation. Which scenario will help you improve your conversion when you're dealing with multiple offers? Well, obviously, if you're doing a buyer consultation, it helps us do what? Everything that's listed behind. Right? It helps set the expectations, helps us discuss the buying process, discover what they're looking for, all that fun stuff. So I'm not going to spend too much time on buyer consultations. The fact is that if you were doing them, then we can do what? We can prep our buyers and they know what's coming. Because if they don't know what's coming, then they're going to be not unpleasantly surprised. So we have responsibility in what happens next. So just keep in mind, if you're doing them, great. If you're not doing them, you might want to start doing them. So let's keep going. Any questions so far? Awesome. Good. Next. They like a house. Now what? Now what? What are we doing? Here, sign this. No, we don't want to do that, right? Obviously, there's different strategies when it comes to submitting an offer in today's market. Step 1 is always called the listing agent. Discover some information, see what the status is. If there's no offers, if there are offers, are they doing a deadline, not doing a deadline, what's important to the seller, how crazy is it getting, all that fun stuff. It might be of value to communicate all that information to the buyer. There's always, it comes down to 2 different scenarios. The buyer's agents that are not picking up the phone and not reaching out to the listing agents, are they promoting their buyer's best interest? The answer is no. So what are we supposed to be doing? Pick up the phone, obtain the information, promote your buyer's best interest, right? So nobody really hand signs anymore, but we're going to sign it, e-sign it, hand sign it, however you want to get it signed. You do want to discuss the actual offers prior to having them signed. Don't be your traditional agent, which I say traditional because most agents probably do this. Oh, you like the house? Here, sign this. They've never seen the document before in their life. You're gonna get some pushback. You're gonna get somebody that drags their feet. You don't want that. If you've actually reviewed at any point in time, whether it be the buyer consultation or not, what an offer looks like and what it means, then it should be a lot more smooth compared to if you have not. You want to negotiate the terms of the agreement. Obviously, if it's one-on-one, you want to send the updated offer, and then you want to forward the executed agreement to the attorneys and start attorney review. Do the buyers know what the process looks like? What it's supposed to look like? What it's supposed to be? What happens next? Do they know? They don't know. We know. Well, I hope we know. Because if we don't know, we can't tell them, right? I always like to say you cannot give what you do not have. If you don't know the buying process, you cannot communicate the buying process. If you don't know how to strengthen an offer in multiple offers, scenarios, you cannot communicate that. If you don't know the market conditions, you cannot give what you do not have. So we need to know our stuff, right? So we need to know the buying process. We need to know what to do in multiple offer situations. We need to know the market conditions. Basic phases of a transaction. Great. We have an executed agreement, attorney review. We completed attorney review. Great. Now we're going to do the home inspection contingency. And then, of course, once we complete the home inspection contingency, we're going to go to the mortgage contingency period. Congratulations, you're a homeowner, right? But again, we have to communicate the buying process to the client. I'm briefly going through this because we're going to spend most of our time on multiple offers, but it is important information to communicate to buyers and not forget to mention it to them, or else we are going to have a lot of trouble. We're going to have some roadblocks, some difficulties, some barriers unnecessarily, because there's a difference between submitting 10 offers for somebody and 5 offers for somebody, right? It's a lot more legwork, a lot more time, energy, and effort. So if you do, if you set the expectations up front, you communicate all the necessary information up front, it will help you with your conversion, right? So you'll be working less, making more than that level. Even today, in today's environment, we can always improve our conversion. Everything we do is a numbers game. Doesn't matter what we're talking about, what activity, it's always a numbers game. So let's talk about multiple offers. Very top of the list, it says relationship with agent. Well, Freddie, you know me, I know you, right? You have 8 offers on the table. We've worked together before. You know my lenders, you know my attorneys, you know I prepare my buyers really, really well. You know I'm gonna get us to the finish line no matter what. And then you have this other really, really strong offer that I'm very close to, and you don't know the agent, you don't know who their attorney is, you don't know who their lender is. Which offer are you going to suggest to your seller move forward with? Relationship with agent does matter, doesn't it? Also, maybe the amount of information they provide because they want to work with you. So there's a lot of benefits to having a relationship. That's why I always say play nice in the sandbox. Hello, hello, nice to see you. So it's always a good idea to play nice in the sandbox. And then, of course, even if you're a new agent or you don't know the listing agent, you can still create a relationship with the agent. How so? Pick up the phone, right? Connect to that agent. There's a room to build rapport, likability, all that fun stuff. So there is still a method. Now, if you don't know the agent, you don't pick up the phone, and your buyer will be at a disadvantage as well as you as an agent, me as an agent. So we want to pick up the phone. We want to create that relationship with the agent if it doesn't exist already. Expertise, right? Pick a town, any town, right? If your buyer happens to be looking in that town, you're an expert in that town. You know all the inventory. You've seen all the inventory for who knows how long, 6 months, a year, 2 years. You know what things are selling for. You know what buyers are willing to pay for any particular product, because every house is case by case. Does that benefit your client? Of course it does, right? Because now all of a sudden we can communicate strategy at a much higher level. We can set expectations at a much higher level. We can prepare them at a much higher level. So expertise does go a long way. Then I get the question from agents all the time, well, how do you develop expertise? Well, just get familiar with the inventory in that niche, right? In that area. It doesn't have to be I say niche because it doesn't have to be an area. It can also be a product. We come across agents that, they deal with specific products, not necessarily in areas, whether it be condos, co-ops, mixed-use properties, commercial properties. So there's also room to be an expert in a product. Now, to get familiar with inventory over a long period of time, all it requires is a little bit of footwork. Go preview some homes, discover what things are going for, keep track and tabs on the properties that are going under contract, eventually get sold, see what they go for, see how close you were. Put some intention around becoming an expert in a particular area. It does benefit you. It does benefit your client. When we're doing all this footwork, who are we coming across? Who are we talking to? Who are we meeting? We're meeting other agents that do a high amount of production in those areas. Right. So going back to the first one, it's kind of you're doing 2 things at the same time. You're building relationships while you're doing that. While you become an expert, you get to develop these relationships with agents as well. Concessions, it's not the sellers that are giving anything up, it's the buyers that are conceding, giving things up. What's the first thing that the buyers give up in order to strengthen an offer? Because the name of the game, don't forget the name of the game. The name of the game is not highest offer. The name of the game is strongest offer. That's the name of the game that we're in, that we're playing. So, what's the first thing that a buyer gives up in order to strengthen an offer? Yeah, as is, buyer purchase as is, with the exception of dot dot dot. You put in whatever you want, that's why I say dot dot dot. As is the exception of structural, environmental, mechanical, safety, health, whatever word usage you want to put after. I typically just put structural and environmental. If it's a builder that's knocking down the house, and he'll waive the inspection with the exception of an oil tank. Usually that's the one thing that they want to make sure that's not in the ground. Even so, sometimes I've seen builders that no problem, I'll take the oil tank out. But we're not usually waiving the inspection continuously unless you're really knocking down the house. So what's the next thing that a buyer is willing to give up or limit in order to strengthen an offer? Because again, the name of the game is strongest offer. How do we strengthen an offer? As, with the after we've already said as is the exception of. Yeah, the appraisal. So we're limiting or waiving the appraisal contingency if you have the ability to do it. Some buyers don't have the ability to do it. If you're 3.5% FHA or 0% VA or 5% conventional, you can't, right? If you don't have additional reserves, you don't have the ability to. There are some lenders that can give you kind of a heads up. It'll appraise, not appraise, but either way, you have to have the reserves. Now, if you are 20% down with no additional reserves, what happens? If worst case scenario, what happens? If the appraisal comes in low and you waive or limited the appraisal contingency. Just something to keep in mind. But yeah, you can still, by the way, you can still move forward if it under appraises, yet there's something called PMI. You have to make sure that they're okay with one, either paying PMI or paying additional closing costs to buy it down. So that's if it's at 10 or 15%, by the way, it's a non-issue because you're paying PMI anyway, more than likely. And then if it's 25%, you have that little wiggle room as well. So it's kind of that 20% tends to be more of an issue than compared to 15 or 25%, only because of the PMI. So just keep that in mind.
Can you repeat that?
You can pay down the PMI.
No, can you repeat that about the appraisal contingency? So let's say we do the appraisal, what did you say?
Yeah, so what we have to communicate to our clients is worst case scenario, right? Best case scenario, worst case scenario, if they have all the information, that's what we're for. We're the advisors, the consultants. We're communicating information to them so they can make a good real estate decision. This is one of those conversations. So when we tell our buyers, hey, Mr., Mrs. Buyer, limit or waive your appraisal contingency, do they know what that means? They do not know what that means. All right, so they don't know what best case, worst case scenario is, so that's our job to kind of communicate to them. If you don't have the ability to communicate it to them, or they're not just understanding, the lender's there. You just take that monkey off your back, say, here, reach out to your lender, they'll explain it to you. Even though lenders sometimes don't necessarily make them comfortable. I would share with you that the majority of the population out there thinks that if you're waiving the appraisal contingency and it happens to under appraise, that you actually have to bring more money to the table. While that is an option, that's not the best option. Sometimes the best option is just allowing the loan to value to shift. It doesn't change anything.
If you have.
Yeah, if you have the buffer, if you have the reserves, if you have the ability to, yeah. So, if you're at, I don't know, if you're at 15% and it goes down to 12%, it doesn't affect you in any way, shape, or form, really. If you're at 40% and it goes down to 35%, it doesn't affect you in any way. Yeah, so it'll change the loan to value. That's pretty much the, and if the buyer is okay with that, then you move forward. It's fine. Great. Let's limit the appraisal contingency. Let's waive the appraisal contingency. By the way, I'm not seeing any appraisal issues lately on really anything up to low millions. Like, I'm not seeing any appraisal issues. As crazy as things are. So if something's listed at 600 and goes for 750, no, not an appraisal issue. I'm seeing stuff at 400 and it goes for 600. No, not seeing an appraisal issue. There's no shortage of good comparables lately because all the crazy final prices that we're seeing on different products in different areas. So I think it's more of an exception to come across an appraisal issue compared to normal. So it's more routine not to have an appraisal issue. It doesn't matter if we're talking about a one-bedroom or a luxury home. It just I'm not seeing too many issues. And if there is an issue, then we'll deal with it. Yeah? Has anybody seen an appraisal issue? Because I come across a lot of transactions, not just mine, but for my entire team. We're not seeing any issues. But we still need to make the client feel comfortable, so we communicate the information, and if they're open to it, then we have the ability to strengthen our offer by limiting the appraisal contingency. Now, the same goes for inspections. So, do the clients know what limiting inspections is? No, they don't know. We're gonna have a whole slide for it next, but we have to communicate it to them, okay? What else? Terms. What are the most basic terms that we can do to strengthen our offer? Well, we can accommodate the seller's closing date. If they want a 30-day close and putting 90, we'll weaken your offer, and vice versa. If they want a 60-day close and we're putting a 30-day close, that weakens your offer. So how do we find out what their preferred closing date is? Yeah, just ask them. I've never had an agent, I don't know how many phone calls I've made, I've never had an agent say none of your business. They've always told me that what their seller preferred. It could be, oh, they don't care, to a specific date, and everything in between. So why don't you make that deposits, small little way to strengthen an offer. Obviously, if you're putting a 5% additional deposit or a 10% additional deposit, or even if you're shifting it to an initial deposit, maybe that shows a higher level of seriousness. So you can play with it a little bit. Does it really affect it in a big way? No, not really. But when we're having conversations about strengthening an offer and weakening offers, and that's part of it. Escalation clauses. I have the word usage for escalation clauses on another slide up ahead. I can just tell you escalation clauses. When do you normally see them? When we have no idea where this is going. Where this is going too crazy. I don't even know how crazy it's getting. I don't really like to use escalation clauses. I like to think that I kind of have an idea, a good grasp of what somebody's going to pay for any particular product. Yet when we don't know how crazy it's going to get, then you'll use them. Yet the conversation that we're going to have around escalation clauses today, it's just a simple question. Know when not to use them. It's not about using them, it's know when not to use them. Some sellers or some listing agents, they don't want us to have them. Yeah, so you ask. So how do you find out? Well, you ask. Hey, are you okay if we use an escalation clause? Yeah, sure, no problem. Or no, we don't want an escalation clause. And sometimes they'll just tell you, or sometimes it'll be on instructions. So just figure that one out. That's probably more important than actually using it. And then highest and best. The majority of, I say 9 out of 10, majority of sellers and listing agents will use a tool. I call it a tool. It's the highest and best in order to obtain top dollar from buyers and buyers agents. Now, what we also want to know is if they're going to use it or not. Because on a rare occasion, they won't. And what we don't want happening is, oh, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, strategically, let's just wait for the deadline. We'll submit an offer then. It's today's Tuesday. It's on Thursday. They might have it on Wednesday or Thursday. Next thing you know, next day you see it in ARIP, and you didn't even submit your offer. You're about to get fired because you're gonna have an upset buyer. So you want to make that phone call again and ask the listing agent. They know, trust me, they know if they intend on doing a highest and best, or if the seller's just going to take the crazy offer that came in last night. So ask lender. Are lenders important? Can lenders strengthen an offer or weaken an offer? Yes, absolutely. I'll take it one step further. So yes, if it's Carnegie Mortgage or ABC Mortgage out of Missouri, it's an online. Obviously, one's stronger than the other. But your lender can also get you through underwriting with a TBD property. Your lender can also make that phone call for you to the listing agent, say, hey, we've collected all their financial documents. They've been through underwriting. They're good to go. Just tell us when you want to close, sort of conversation. So that'll benefit you. Leasebacks, use of occupancies. Some sellers, they need to sell in order to buy. So if I call the listing agent, and the listing agent says, hey, my sellers, they need to sell this house in order to buy another one. Okay, great. Well, what if my buyers, we agree to close on the property, you get to stay in the property, you put the equity in your pocket, you could stay there for 1 week, 2 weeks, a month, whatever was negotiated, after the closing, so it gives you time to purchase without a sale contingency. Would that be helpful to your sellers? Why yes, it would. So now your buyers still need to be agreeable to it, because whether we're talking about inspections or appraisals or leasebacks, again, they have to be agreeable to all this stuff. So we have to communicate to them what that means. So what does the use of occupancy / leaseback, same thing, mean? So we have to communicate that to them. Letter to sellers, it's a broker thing. A lot of brokers don't want you submitting letters to sellers anymore, or videos to sellers or anything like that. So it's more of a broker question. Yet I'll go back to the lenders. The lenders can make those phone calls and say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Listing Agent, this is the story with my buyers. Okay?
So are your buyers using Carnegie Mortgage?
We have a relationship with another mortgage company, but it's Carnegie Mortgage, they know what they're doing. So attorney review, just a simple piece of advice. You might want to get out of attorney review quickly. You might not want it to go over a weekend. You might, if you're approaching a weekend, it's a 50-50, okay?
A lot of agents, they do it on purpose. And they give it on Friday so they can keep,
You can keep showing. Listen, you can show, like you wouldn't know. As a buyer or buyer's agent, you wouldn't necessarily know. And they can get more offers. And maybe they get offers from somebody that was dragging their feet and then they came in crazy. And then guess what? You think you got this deal all locked up, and Monday morning comes around, you see the termination letter in your email at 9 a.m. So it does benefit the buyer to complete attorney review, because then you're under contract and the seller can't do that. I don't care if they get $1 million over yours, they can't do that. So protect yourself, protect the buyers, and get them out of attorney review ASAP, because then you're under contract. The buyers need to understand the benefit complete attorney review quickly and not dragging your feet. I get it. Sometimes we have detail-oriented clients. They want to read every single word of the writer. They want to understand every single word of the writer, even though I think all of us know it's not going to mean anything if you don't have a house to move forward with. So come to agreement quickly. Finish the review quickly. Make sure your attorney. It's really important because your attorney selection is pretty important. Can an attorney make or break a deal? Absolutely. If attorneys not just a real estate lawyer, they're also a divorce lawyer or an immigration lawyer. They go to trials in the middle of the day. Guess what? And they're not going to be so responsive, and they're not necessarily going to understand what the market conditions are like. And they're not going to communicate at the same level as somebody who does. So your attorney selection can make or break the deal. It's kind of important to have that list of recommended attorneys that will get you out of attorney review quickly and know what they're doing. They're very responsive. They communicate at a high level.
Can I ask you
Yeah, of course.
3 names of the attorneys that you use for your team?
I use Josh Levine in Fairlawn a lot. I use Michael Chapman. He's out of Wayne. And then Ben Cooper and Ramsey. So, those are kind of like the top attorneys that we use. There's a few other ones that we use here and there. It's a long list because we do a lot of units a year. They're all on the list. I think all those attorneys are on the list. Not necessarily yours, but for the other market centers, they'll be on. There's 5 different lists for the 5 different market centers. But any attorney off any one of those lists should, they've already been kind of pre-screened. So they're all real estate attorneys. They all do this day in day out. They wouldn't be on those lists if they weren't good. So let's talk about inspections. We spoke about it before. Do the clients know what it means? Structural and environmental? No, not necessarily. So, we have to communicate to them that the original heat source in a lot of these homes, built in the 30s, 40s, 50s, whatever, was oil. Oil is a heat source. So asbestos, we're talking about insulation, we're talking about flooring, sometimes ceiling, mold. We're going to see mold every now and then. Any pest infestations, maybe. Maybe you have one too many mice in the house, maybe even some dead ones here and there, some droppings here and there. We're going to come across, mice droppings actually quite frequently. You don't see them. All of a sudden, you do a home inspection, and you're surprising the homeowner because you found mice droppings in the attic or the garage or in the shed or whatever. They didn't know about it because a lot of homes, you don't see them, right? So you're going to see pests and you're going to see termite, and that's all environmental and structural. Actually, it's all environmental here. Structural could be anything major, a major component of the house. But what does that mean, right? This is the escalation clause that I like to, it's the word usage that we use in our offers. I'll put it under additional terms, I'll also put it in the actual email. When we're communicating our emails, our offers, it's pretty important to have it organized nicely. Make sure all the information is easily, they can read it easily. The listing agent, some listing agents actually prefer one PDF, all the documents in one PDF, and some listing agents prefer the documents separate. So it's just a question of preference. Do they have an assistant that you want to CC on that email? It's all kind of important, but you gotta ask them what they prefer. Escalation clauses, again, that's the word usage we use. Increments, I just put 1,000 in there, but it could be 5,000, it could be 3,000, it could be $10,000 increments. It's whatever you make up. So basically, I can tell you, I'm trying to think of the amount of times that we don't usually use it that often, but when we do use them, we usually lose anyway. It's not like you think you're putting a crazy number in, somebody went even higher. So it's just one of those things. Just use it when you really have no idea when you don't know where it's going to go, or when they allow. Okay. So if you lose, now what? Let's talk about losing for a second. How often are you going to lose? Are you going to lose more than you get accepted? I can guarantee it, 100% certainty. Unless you're working in a very specific type of product that has a wealth of inventory, like 100 options to choose from, which is not around here. Then you're probably losing a lot more than you're obtaining. Okay, so what's the average? How many offers you got to submit on average to get one accepted?
Depending on the client.
So I'd say, okay, so you can break it down to either client-based or all your clients. So you can take all the offers you're submitting, compared to how many you got accepted, and then you know what your rate is across all your clients. Yeah, you're right, because if somebody's a VA 0% down compared to cash buyer, that'll factor in. If you have a client that's willing to do whatever it takes, limiting this and waiving that, and willing to compete at a very high level compared to somebody who's not, it will affect all those different things will factor in to your conversion. In general, I like to just do across all of my clients, even though they are different from each other. You're absolutely right. So the question is, how many offers we got to submit in order to get one accepted, regardless of this client or across all your clients? Mine's somewhere between 6 and 7, and that's from me. So I can't imagine what it is for other agents. But then again, I don't work in luxury. I work my bread and butter is around 700 to 800. So that's the story of my life. Is multiple offers, and I submit offers every single week. So I get a lot of rejections. Put it that way. The more rejections you get, the closer you are to getting one accepted. That's just the way it works. You got to be okay with it. And by the way, what we don't want is a client expecting to get an accepted offer, the first offer they submit. Now it's nice when it does happen, it's amazing when it happens, yet it's not likely to happen. So what we don't want is them coming in, losing, and then how do they feel? They had an expectation. They were going to fall in love with this house and they were going to get it. How do they feel? Disappointed, frustrated, upset at you. It should be, because we just set the expectation. And if we just communicated a simple line, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, current market conditions are very competitive. Our conversion ratio right now is we have to submit 7 offers to get one accepted. All you have to do is say that, and then you set the expectation. See how easy that was? It's just a few words coming out of our mouths. So if we set the expectation, then they know what to expect. But if we don't set the expectation, who's going to set the expectation? They are. And usually when they set their own expectations, where is it? Well, it's way up here, and we don't want that because they're more likely to be disappointed. So let's set the expectations. Also, when they do lose, right, we don't want to get caught up in a bidding war, but you do want to get in the backup position. So I do recommend, I do encourage clients to submit the offer anyway. Even if I come back to them and say, hey, this is going kind of crazy, it's at these numbers. What happened? I'm still encouraging them to submit their offer, even though we're not optimistic of obtaining it all, because on a rare occasion, what happens? You get a special phone call, an interesting phone call from a listing agent saying, hey, is your client still interested? The fallout rate, the cancellation rate, the termination rate on transactions right now is super high compared to what it was 5 years ago. It's probably 1 out of every 5 transactions gets terminated or canceled. Because of the craziness of the market, it also causes that to be at a much higher rate. So we want to get in the backup position. You want to submit the offer anyway, even if it's too low to obtain. You want to stay positive. It'll actually prepare you and the client better. You're a better agent and they're a better buyer because they went through the experience, right? They're a better buyer because they went through the experience. You also might be a better agent for going through the experience. You also know what a property in that particular area would go for, give or take, right? It makes you a better agent. So we are all better prepared for the next one. Next time, if they didn't come in strong and clean this time, which a lot of times they don't, especially if it's the first offer they submitted, it's kind of a learning lesson, right? Maybe next time they will come strong and come in clean. They will strengthen their offer by eliminating this or waiving that, or coming in at top dollar or their max, or whatever their the extreme edge of their budget is in order to obtain. Again, there's a difference between the definition of an A+ buyer a few years ago to today. The definition was a ready, willing, and able buyer. That's not an A buyer. No, in today's market, in today's environment, an A buyer, an A+ buyer is somebody that's ready, willing, and able, and willing to do whatever it takes. And if you're not willing to do whatever it takes, you're probably not buying a house. Like, it's to that degree. Because if something's priced correctly or even underpriced, and we can see right off the bat, they're going to have to. I'm not talking about the overpriced ones, and there's always overpriced ones. It's still 80-20. There's always 2 products. There's always 2 types of products. There's the overpriced by different amounts, and the ones that are priced correctly, even underpriced. Those are the only 2 products in any market. So it's also our job to identify which is which. There's a very easy way to identify what an overpriced house is. It's on the market for more than a week, it's overpriced. Especially if it's been on the market for more than 2 weeks. I'd say 2 weeks, 10 to 14 days is probably a better indicator. Days on the market is a clear indicator if it's overpriced. Now, how much overpriced? I've seen properties, I'm not even kidding. Yeah, some are overpriced by $10,000. I've seen a property that's overpriced by $1 million. So it's in everything in between. Is it overpriced by 50? Is it overpriced by 100,000? But they're all overpriced by different amounts. I'm just going to group them together and overpriced. That's also a strategy. Hey, Mr. Mrs. Buyer, you don't want to compete for these, one-day old listings. Let's go to the overpriced ones. Nobody's there. Let's go one-on-one. But then they really have to trust you. They really have to trust you. But when you say, hey, not you, but another buyer's willing to pay X for this house, don't look at the list price. It's important. So you have to have that confidence in order to communicate that. So, yeah, they're going to be more flexible. They're going to come stronger. They're going to come cleaner, and it makes them for a better buyer when they do this. Now, I always want you to bring them back, tell them and bring their focus back to the ultimate goal, the end result that you're really looking for. And you can just say it in words. Hey, you know what? We gave our best shot on this one. Yet I do know that the end result is going to be you and a home that you're going to enjoy for many years to come. And I'm going to make sure that's going to happen. So let's keep our focus on that. Keep our vision on that. So we have to create that vision in their head sometimes, because they might be down or depressed or might want to take a step back. I've had clients take a step back and never to return and still haven't bought homes. Who knows how many years later? So it happens. There's not too much that we can do about it. We can't make choices for people, yet we can influence them with information. So there's different scenarios that come across in multiple offer scenarios. It's kind of important as agents to communicate strategy. Just kind of last tip that I'm going to give you guys. Communicating strategy to a client is a skill. I'll give you an example. What if the property is listed on a Wednesday, and they're having an open house Saturday, Sunday? What do you do? You submitting a crazy offer on a Friday?
No.
Why not? Why wouldn't you do that?
Because they will already know that they have a strong offer and somebody's gonna try to get your offer.
What's the first question a potential buyer, not your buyer, potential buyer will ask when they walk into a showing?
Do you
And
already
open
have
it.
offers?
Yeah. And actually, are we required as listing agents to tell them or not? You're actually required to tell them if you have an offer or not, and also if you have to tell them if it's your own, from an ethics standpoint, right? So what does that mean? What happens? What happens to the price of the property? Your clients actually just artificially inflated the price. Why would they do that? You know, and now you do. There is one scenario that I would say submit it after you've spoken to the agent. If the seller, and this happens on a rare occasion, the seller doesn't want people through their house. Who knows? Maybe they're worried about 1,000 groups of people walking through their house. So if they give them a really good, so you want to find out.
They can cancel your house.
They can. I've seen it. I've seen it happen before. So there's only one way to find out. It's make the phone call. What day really matters. What day it is. Is it Monday or is it Saturday? Really matters. So it's just one of those things. You have to be strategic with your offers. If the highest and best deadline, if your clients just saw the house, the highest and best deadline is tomorrow at 12. What are you doing? Yeah, but you're waiting for the deadline, right? But what are you doing before the deadline?
Call the agent.
You call the agent, right? Now, hopefully they answer, because a lot of agents don't answer. I have some qualms with that too, but we'll talk about that in a second. So yeah, you call the agent and obtain what information you can. Not that they'll give it to you, but they might. Definitely try. There's no limitation on questions you can ask as buyer's agents. What I will say is that if you are a listing agent, you want to take those calls, and I'll tell you why. I understand how busy you feel when you have this one listing, the deadline's approaching, and people are driving you crazy a little bit. You should be grateful for it, one, but also there's two scenarios that unfold here. It's just like the question I asked you earlier in the class, by picking up the phone. Listing agents, by answering the phone to buyers and buyers agents, if they answer the phone, are they promoting their seller's best interest? And by not answering the phone, are they promoting their seller? Obviously, when you say it out loud, it's a clear answer that they're promoting their seller's best interest by answering the phone, not ignoring everybody, not answering the phone calls. Because with a 5-second, not even like a 10-second conversation, you can say a few words that will get your seller $10,000, $20,000 more. Why wouldn't you do it? Because it's called negotiation skills. Just say a few words. Oh, it's getting kind of crazy. You don't have to say a number if you don't want to, but that'll make somebody come in even crazier, right? Oh, you're not even close. That'll make somebody come in crazier. It's negotiation strategy, guys. I'm not here to teach negotiation skills, but just a few words can get your sellers tens of thousands of dollars. So answer the phone if you're a listing agent. Now, I'm always surprised. Listen, nobody's busier than we are. Okay, we do more units than anybody in the entire MLS. We always answer our phones. So when I come across a listing agent that only has one listing and they're so bombarded they can't answer, like, come on, give me a break. I'm sorry, guys. Like, it's just the reality of it is that there's busier agents that always answer their phone, so you can't too. Okay. Any questions, concerns, comments? Anything I didn't cover? Jokes? You guys
A lot of jokes.
Yeah. Well, I got some more war stories than jokes, but yeah, I got a lot of scars. It's okay. So we learned how we get better.
What you said is true. Sometimes I do get like I do have moments, right, which I don't want to answer my phone. I feel like I can't really do my phone anymore. But every time I do, always something good happens. Like I said, talking to another agent, and always times that I answer the phone.
Yeah, we're working for somebody in service of a client, so it does benefit them more than it does us. But answering the phone can only lead to good things, not bad.
Yeah, that's what I want to say.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, there's opportunity in everything that we do and say. We're always going to look back and say, what could I have done better, done differently? Could I have said this, not said this? Sometimes it's things we do and things we don't do. So we're always looking to improve our own skill set, but we can only do that with reflection. So experience is great. Experience and reflection will make you even better. Of course, I always encourage you guys to call me if you come into a weird scenario. I've probably been there, done that. I'll give you the best piece of advice I can in that given moment. I'm always working. I work 7 days a week, so if I'm not here, I'm usually in the office.
You work 7 days? You can say like Monday to just.
No, actually, when I take my days off, I'd rather be working.
Really?
Yeah, I like working. It doesn't feel like work for me. I enjoy doing it. So I think if you don't enjoy doing it, then we have a
But
problem.
I feel like even if you like it, you just want one day that.
I know, but
Come call me.
one of the things they say, okay, well, what hobbies do you have? I was like, well, I like watching movies, but I'm not going to do it by myself. And if my wife's working, then so I'd rather be working. I don't like being home. I don't like four walls. That's not me. I got to be out and about. Got to be running around. I got to be doing something. I don't care what it is. Just something going on. Busy is better than boring in my book. I don't know. I can't. It's no point for me to watch TV because I don't remember anything anyway. I have a short memory, which is a good quality to have in this line of work. Short memory. When you forget what happened yesterday real quick. It's a good quality to have, trust me. Recommend everybody have it. So I just naturally have it. So it's just one of those things. Listen, guys, it's not an easy line of work that we're in.
Yeah.
We're going to have a lot more frustrating experiences than we are successful ones, and that's just the way that it goes. So that's the reality of it. I can share with you every single day I have issues. I have bumps in the road, I have obstacles, I have barriers, I have things that go not in the way that I wanted them to. But that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what I want. Right? Things happen. You gotta be okay with it, move on.
Especially with buyers.
Yeah, and I have a lot of crappy experiences with buyers, and negative experiences, frustrating experiences, whatever you want to call them. It happens to me often, but you forget about it real quick. Move on. Like I said, experience plus reflection. What could I have done better? What could I have done differently? And move on. And the next time it comes across, same scenario, it'll be better for you. And also, I think faith has a lot to do with it. The whole idea where things kind of work out the way that they're supposed to, whether you know it or not. You have that faith, and you keep going. Sometimes we just don't see it in the moment. Right? But looking back, it's a lot easier. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Things worked out the way that they were supposed to, so we didn't see it in the moment. Just gotta, I guess, have faith at the same time that to do the best you can and move on. Sometimes it's just not meant to be. That's okay. How's everything with work? Okay? Yeah, up and down?
Yeah.
Like a roller coaster ride, like everybody else?
Starting this year, it's been challenging.
It has. Listen, you know what? And I feel like I've been doing this for a while. On and off, I've been doing this for 16 years. And it's always been challenging, but there's just different challenges.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter what market, what client. There's always been challenges. There's not like a challenge-free market. It's just or a time. There always is. It's just a different set of challenges. We have to show up. When we show up, then keep working. I can tell you what happens when you stop working.
No money. Yeah. I can see that.
Yeah. So, it doesn't matter what happens. Don't let it stop you in your tracks. Just keep working. Because the moment you stop working or you give up, you're done. Like you're not gonna make any money. So you got to keep working no matter what happens. Like I said, you got to have a short memory. You got to have thick skin. It's just part of the job description. You know how they say that part of the job description is, role playing, lead gen. You got to have thick skin too. Yeah, you got to have a short memory. It's okay. Ultimately, in the long run, I think we're all looking for the same thing in this line of work: is success and longevity. We all want success and longevity in this work because whatever we did before in a past life, we don't want to go back to that. We don't want to be working in an office 9 to 5, or we don't want to be bartending, right? Or we don't want to be coaching soccer full time. I don't know, even though I know you like it, but like it's it's one of those, we know that going back to that is a step back for us, and it wouldn't be better than what we're doing and what we're experiencing now. Because if you're making X amount of money now, you're not going to make that money doing whatever it is that you were doing before. You're already making, with all the challenges and all the difficulty and everything that we're going through, you have the flexibility of a nice station working, and you're making more money at the same time, and you don't have, it's not the same. It's just, we're not going to leave this. So even with all the challenges and difficulty we're having, we're still going to stick, because we know it's better than what we were doing before. Right?
For me, yes. For me,
Well, for me too. I think for most, I was working in an office. I'm not going back to that. No way. For what? To be miserable and get paid half of what I get paid now, even with all the difficulty? No, I don't. And once you get to a certain point, you realize I'm where I'm supposed to be, even with everything that's going on. So that's okay. Just keep working. The deals will come, right? Transactions will come. Just got to keep doing what you're doing.
About the 3 months time frame is so true though. For example, I had my parents here for 3 months back in November. I didn't take them off, but I did close deals in that time frame, but I wasn't that much active. I can see that I didn't make money for that active.
You can see your pipeline. Yeah, I mean, it's scary too. Because we live and die on our pipelines. And if your pipeline is empty, then well, guess what? You're not making money 2 to 3 months.
I said 3 months.
Yeah, you always need something in your pipeline. Yeah, it gets kind of scary from an income, because I can tell you something about bills. They don't stop. Doesn't matter. They don't care. Your bills don't care how much money you're making or not making. They don't stop. They keep coming in. So we have to plan accordingly, right? I like to pay my bills 3 months ahead. If you have a mortgage or a rent, put it aside.
That's the challenging part.
Listen, you have a deal that comes in.
You have the desire, you can keep going, you can do whatever it takes, but then bills don't stop.
The bills do not stop. So I'm saying, okay, so if I know, and I really do this, I'm not kidding, I pay my bills 3 months ahead. So I don't have to worry about it. So the deal comes in, first thing, bills 3 months reserves. If I don't have 3 months reserves, I'm just making it up. If it's only a 1 month or 2 month, I'm filling it. And that's everything, from car insurance to cell phone bills to cable bills, from every little thing to every big thing. I'm paying it 3 months ahead, whatever I can. Car payment, my car loan, the way it works is I can pay it. So I pay it ahead. I don't even keep it in reserves. I just pay it. Mine's $505 a month. I'm paid up right now 2 months ahead. I gotta pay another month now. My car insurance every quarter. My life insurance every quarter. Yeah. And think about all of it. You should have your bills budgeted. Google Sheet, Excel spreadsheet. Line it all up. Your fixed expenses. I'm not talking about food and gas, but your fixed expenses, pay those up. Because nothing's worse than a bill is due and you don't have any money to cover it.
Yeah.
Start living off the credit cards. I've been there, done that. It's not fun. I'm telling you, it's not fun.
So what about, how do you do it for the family, wife, kids, and do this full time?
Well, you need support. So you need support from your family and your kids, or you can't be doing this. It makes it more difficult to do this. So you're gonna miss some occasions. And first of all, you can always get coverage. Like leverage is a real important thing. Listen, Freddie, if you called me and you said, "Hey, can you cover a home inspection for me?" What would I say? I'd say, "Yeah, sure, no problem. If I'm available, no problem." "Hey, can you do a showing for me, Freddie? Are you gonna help me out?" "Yeah, of course you would." People are willing to help you out, but you got to pick up the phone and call them. So if you have to go to a soccer game, or you have to go to a birthday dinner, guess what? Somebody will cover it. Just pick up the phone, or reach out in the group chats. Somebody will cover you for a showing. And by the way, you don't need to be there. I've had transactions where I didn't even meet the client. I'm not even kidding. I have my teammates, because I was away. I was on vacation. They went to the showings. I submitted the offer from wherever I was overseas. My teammates go to the appraisal, the inspections, the final walkthroughs. I never even met the client. So what does that mean? Do we really need to be there? No, we don't. You don't need to be there. You can have somebody else show the house for you. You can have somebody show up the inspection for you. You just need to prep the client for it. When you're in a team setting, it makes it a little bit easier because I rarely ever have to go outside to an outside agent. My teammates cover for me a lot. I'm covering for another agent tomorrow. Another agent covered for me yesterday. So we help each other out with that stuff. So it does allow for more personal things where you don't have to miss them if it's important to you. Depends how important it is. Right? Sometimes it's just an excuse not to go. So it's there's ways around it. I learned that with time. That you don't have to be there, and somebody else will cover for you. You just have to reach out. Then the worst case, you have to pay somebody. And when I had, this was 2 years ago, in the summer of 23, I had 19 pending transactions at the same time. There's no way one person can do it, not especially as a buyer's agent, mostly. I don't even know if I had any listings at that time. I had double and triple booked appointments. I didn't even, when somebody says, hey, I want to see a house at this time, I didn't even look at my calendar. If I was available, I would go, and if I wasn't available, I would send somebody else. I was paying outside agents hundreds of dollars during that time frame a week, just to cover for me. So it's all very doable. I'm not at that place right now. Right now, I have time to teach classes, and I have time to do my market research and preview homes and stuff I should be doing anyway. But at that time, I couldn't even breathe. I wasn't even kidding. On Saturday, Sundays, when it's usually our busy time, I'd have 7 to 9 appointments a day, back to back. It was nuts.
So right now, how many active buyers do you have?
So it depends if I have a list that separates them A, B, C, D. A buyers, I have half a dozen. B, C, and D buyers, I have another anywhere 24 to 30 at any point in time. So I'll have somewhere around 30 to 36 in my pipeline at any point in time. Yet A buyers, which is my definition of an A buyer, is if I show somebody a house, they're putting an offer in if they like it, and they're good to go, and they're willing to do whatever it takes. So those I have about half a dozen. Yet even with those buyers, we lose. And that's okay.
And with all those buyers, how do you keep on top of looking at the properties that they look for?
So it's a good question. So when it's local, it's easy. I've already seen it. If it's in my niche, say Fairlawn, Glenrock, I've already seen all the inventory. There's really not that much inventory to go see. That's the easy part.
But you send them directly the listing. So how do you keep sending properties so they can see?
Well, some of them I actually don't automatically send. It's important because some clients want they don't want anything and everything, so you manually send them. But I have a list in front of me. I'm answering your question in a simple way. I have a list in front of me that's always open. It never closes. It's a Google sheet. All my buyers, A, B, C, D, and it's always in front of my face. I've come across agents that keep it on note cards. I've come across agents that keep it in their command pipeline. Or they have they put them in different stages, and that's always open. So there's different ways, different methods to not let a buyer fall between the cracks. Just have it in front of you, whatever that method is, whatever works for you. I don't care if it's sticky notes. If it's in front of your face all over your desk, that's fine too, as long as you have a method. I've had agents where they show me their cell phones. I'm like, look, I pin my clients. Like, how you can pin a client, and they have it on top of their text messages. The people are pinned. There's no right or wrong way. It just depends how what method you want to use to make sure it's in front of your face always. If you only have one client that you're working with, it's really easy to remember. When you start having a dozen, 2 dozen, 3 dozen clients, then one can definitely slip between the cracks.
And when submit an offer, you do it by yourself or you have
So I have a transaction coordinator. I just found that doing it myself, it's just so much quicker. Because she has, I don't know how many things on her plate to do before she gets to me. I'd rather just do it. I can do it in 5-10 minutes. So I do my own offers.
Yeah. It takes some time, but once you have everything lined out, it just changes.
Listen, you submit 1,000 offers, you get used to it real quick. You know, it's you know, when even your conversations, the things that you do, the more often you do them, the better you get at it. It's just you know, it's a logical statement. It's just anything we do, I don't care if it's riding a bike or submitting an offer. The more often you do something, the better you get at it. So just do it more. You get better. Oh, I've had agents who tell me I'm afraid of doing an open house. I was like, well, start with one. And then keep going, and then by the time you get to the 10th open house, you think you'll feel more comfortable compared to the first one? Oh yeah, I was like, great, race to 10, let's go. So it's you know, the more often you do something, the better you get at it, the more comfortable you are, the more skillful you get. Just do whatever it is that we're talking about. I don't care what activity, what action, from opening a lockbox to
Yes.
you know, to cold calling. I don't care what the more often you do something, the better you get at it. Just do it more.
Yeah.
So, thanks, guys.
All right, man. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys. Hey, everybody. Good seeing you,
Good
man.
to see you, man.
You look good.
Oh, thank you.
Looks like you've been playing a lot of soccer lately.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.